My name is Rafael R.G. Morgado. I'm the inventor of the Mighty engine. That's spelled M-Y-T. That stands for massive yet tiny. Massive. In this basic configuration of 32 cylinders or 32 pulses, that's 850 cubic inches. We have a front and back or a back-to-back version which is 64 cylinders equivalent. That is 1,700 cubic inches, hence the word massive, yet tiny. That's the physical size, 14 inches across, 14 inches deep. Now this engine replaces a truck engine, the one on the mural panel, which is usually about 5 feet long, 4.5 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and weighs 3,000 pounds. This weighs 150 pounds. Now basically, that's 850 cubic inches. This is 850 cubic inches on the basic configuration. Now, basically, unfortunately, you won't see this in your automobile. This is the size of the automobile engine you're going to see. We take out your V6 engine, V8 engines, remove 800 pounds from your vehicle. We give you back 25 pounds. We give you a performance of 200 to 500 horsepower. However, if you're interested in fuel economy, as long as you run diesel or biofuel, which we prefer, because with biofuel you run cleaner and you don't have to change oil, I personally guarantee 150 miles to a gallon, because we have not even calculated what happens when we remove 800 pounds from your vehicle. All right? Now we're going to go on. We all know that huge displacement is king, but for the last 100 years, huge displacement is normally associated with bulk and weight. In this case, the bulk is not there anymore, and neither is the weight. And then, of course, we doubled up on the displacement. Now, you know that a V12 engine will always make more torque than the 4 cylinders, but also you're penalized by internal friction losses. Now that internal friction losses you pay with horsepower. That's eating the horsepower that you never see. In this engine, although we have 32 cylinders or equivalent of 32 cylinders, we don't have the individual 32 cylinders that produce those internal friction losses. Therefore, the horsepower that is lost in your engine, in the Mighty engine design, it's available in the shaft. That's the horsepower that we have never seen. That's available in this engine. Plus, I have 32 pulses. Now, this is prototype number 1, Mighty engine. The history. The original concept was basically just to run this to prove the concept. But it was so well built, because if you look on the prototype number 2 with my engineers, you will see that the inside of the engine is very familiar. That's because that's already under the hood of your car, has been for the last 100 years. Everything in there is in the internal combustion engine, just configured in a different way. That's all. That's why it's so simple. Now, basically, this is the accomplishments of P1 or prototype number 1. First proof of concept with a Mighty engine. First diesel fuel run to proof of concept as a combustion ignition engine. First engine bio, 100 soybean fuel, pure engine R&D. That's not the B20 that you find in the gas station. B20 is 20% soybean, 80% diesel. This is 100% soybean. In other words, the farmers of America can plant this fuel. We don't have to rely on foreign fuel. First air motoring data run on the dynamometer at 150 psi input, generating 814 foot-pounds of torque at only 800 RPM. For those of you guys who don't understand 800 RPM, that's slightly above idle. In other words, you're sitting in traffic, your car's idling, doing nothing. This is already producing 814 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you don't understand 814 foot-pounds of torque, the Bugatti upstairs, which generates 1,000 horsepower, which costs $1.2 million, basically that approaches the 800 foot-pound torque. But that's doing it at the high RPM, and that's a 16-cylinder engine weighing 2,000 pounds. This basically is idling. Now, at 1,000 miles, first 1,000 miles logged in on the year 2000 Ford Focus equipped with the Mighty engine running on atmosphere air, no compressed air stored in tanks. Now, this is a wonderful accident. basically, we just discovered that we can run on air, but we're not gonna go any further than that. Basically, you know that this is a breakthrough technology. From our studies, we just stumbled to that accidentally. That's a pleasant accident. But right now, we don't want to piss off the manufacturers. We just want to run this in fuel. We can make money on this thing in fuel, right? Now retired, but still a good operating demo engine. Now today what we're going to show is, although we have 32 pulses or equivalent 32 cylinders, we don't have the friction losses associated with it. Therefore, the horsepower that's normally lost in your automobile is present in this car, in this engine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use it as an air motor. In other words, I have 4 quadrants. In other words, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust. We're going to use one as an air motor. We're going to power it up with air pressure, and that's going to rotate it. However, we're going to add load to it by allowing this port to suck air, blow air, suck air, blow air, suck air, blow air. And then basically, when I open the valve, that's going to start at 140 RPM with 125 PSI as we basically lose the air pressure and air. It's going to go down all the way to 50. That's 50 revolutions per minute, showing you that it has almost no friction losses. Now, since we're only using one port, we don't have a perfect balance. Had this been one here and one over here, 180 degrees, it would be perfect balance, or 4 ports. But since we're using one, you're going to see some shaking motion, so don't be alarmed. This engine is very, very smooth, as a matter of fact, but not in this configuration. All right, for those of you in front, if you look on the ports, you can see that the piston's moving as well too. All right, here goes. We're timed, okay. We started at 140 RPM. You can see how slow it's turning. Now you hear the swishing sound of the air on this side. You hear a popping sound on this side. That's compressed air exiting. Now it's not running on fuel. That's just a popping sound of compressed air, all right? But it's working, sucking and blowing air. Now it's starting to slow down. We're losing air pressure. It's still going. We're down to 75 revolutions per minute. That's not 725. Still going, and it's still doing work at that slow RPM. Down to 57, 53, less than 50, and it stops at 39.6. Now, no engine on the planet turns this low RPM, especially if it's just driven by a little amount of air. That's just to show you that although we have multiple cylinders equivalent, we don't have the drags associated with that. Therefore, the horsepower normally eaten is actually available to the shaft. That's why we can lay claim on incredible figures. And the thing to know, of course, is this is a very big engine, but it's very, very reliable. It doesn't have the friction losses. It's very economical because it doesn't have to carry 3,000 pounds. It's 150 pounds. So basically, we're here today because we're basically trying to spread the word about this. 5 years development, $4 million spent, 18-hour days. Now, $4 million is not an awful lot of money for the manufacturers. It is to us, special when you employ 10 engineers. And basically, we've secured 100 patents worldwide to cover this mighty engine. So basically, make sure that you get a flyer, make sure you understand the engine, and spread the word. That's all we ask. We want you to spread the word because we want the manufacturers in the United States to manufacture it in mass production so it can be affordable to all of us. I was in Vietnam. I fought for my country. That was a lost cause. This is a battle I can win, but I can only do it if I have your help. Now, basically, we have no interest party from overseas. I don't want this to go overseas. There is an industrial revolution waiting to happen on this product. I want that industrial revolution to begin in the United States. This engine belongs to you and me. All I ask is spread the word. That's all. Stay in touch with us, and the website makes sure you have flyer. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you say this could run on air?
Yeah.